Avery, whose show is this? And we're live. Welcome everybody here to the Lakers Lounge podcast. I am Anthony Irwin, senior Lakers insider for Clutch Points, and today on the show, the Lakers won a preseason game. No, they didn't play Luka. No, they didn't play Marcus Smart, but the Warriors also didn't play Steph Curry, and the Lakers took care of business. Austin Reaves looked really, really good. Deandre Ayton played well enough to get a walk-off interview. Gabe Vincent has looked really good. Jared Vanderbilt has looked really good. There is plenty to be happy about coming out of that game. However, I still don't necessarily love the Lakers' approach to these things. So we'll talk about all of that. If there's time, we'll talk a little bit about the LeBron noise from over the weekend. I think I'm probably going to spend more time on that tomorrow with Harrison. If you guys have any questions over the course of the show, hit me with them in the comment section, and we'll answer some of those obviously as well. And then because of the funny, schedule that we have now that we're getting into, game nights and stuff like that, obviously no mailbag tonight. That will probably be Wednesday's show. And yeah, let's go ahead and dive on in, starting with a quick recap of a good Lakers preseason game. So the final tonight from Los Angeles, from moneylaunderingarena.com. No, moneylaundering.com arena, or Staples Center, or crypto, whatever you want to call it. But from the arena, the Lakers beat the Golden State Warriors 126-116. They were pretty much dominant outside of the third quarter when Golden State kind of chipped their way back into the game. The quarter scoring went 30-24 in the Lakers' favor in the first quarter, 33-22 in the second quarter, then 39-27 in the third quarter in Golden State's favor. And then the Lakers were able to turn that around and then win the fourth quarter 36-31. Over in terms of individual performances, I mean, Austin Reaves has been head and shoulders the Lakers' best player all preseason in the games that he's played in. Tonight he played 23 minutes, scored 21 points, dished out 3 assists, grabbed 3 rebounds, had a steal and a block, did have 5 turnovers, but was a +8 overall in the game. 7 of 10 from the field, 2 of 4 from three-point range, did miss a free throw. And one of the signs that tell me that a shooter is feeling pretty good is how quickly they react to a shot and whether or not that reaction is correct. So, like, one of the things used to drive me absolutely nuts when I was still playing was I would go to a gym and the shot would feel good off of the fingers, but for whatever reason, just wasn't going in. And that's one of the worst spots that a shooter can be in is, just not feeling, your instincts when the ball leaves your fingertips, those instincts being off. Well, Austin tonight was shooting a free throw. And I went back and I tried to find a clip of it. I couldn't, but he shot a free throw, the one that he missed. And as soon as it left his fingertips, he was like, he kind of rolled his eyes and was annoyed at himself over the way that the ball left his fingertips. And it went in and out and it kind of trickled out there at the very end. And I was like, oh, so he's shooting the ball. He's feeling really good when it comes to his shooting because he knew the moment that it left his fingertips that was off, that it wasn't, that didn't feel like a make. And so, ergo, he goes 7 of 10 from the field overall, 2 of 4, like I said, from three-point range, just had the one missed free throw. And yeah, I thought he was the best player on the court tonight for either team. And has, like I said, been the best Laker overall. So shouts to Austin for that. Other individual performances that I was pretty impressed with. Well, I was really impressed with Rui Hachimura's first half. He scored 14 points in the first half, was aggressive, was looking for a shot, was playing through players, was seeking out contact, and then playing through that contact. I just thought, that was exactly the kind of game, or that was the exact way that Rui looks when he really has it going. Then in the second half and in that third quarter specifically, vanished. And this is the thing that drives me nuts about Rui Hachimura, because if he is scoring, it's not just that like his impact on a game is purely through scoring. He's not like a combo guard who comes off of the bench and whether or not they're making their three-pointers, that dictates whether or not they impacted that game one way or another. It's not just that with Rui. It's that when he is scoring, when he is getting consistent touches, when he's getting consistent shots, and when he's knocking down those shots, he rebounds, he defends better, he gets out and runs, he looks for his shot, he looks to get to the rim, he looks to get to the free throw line if he can. He just looks like a completely different player when he is getting shots. When he isn't, he just disappears. And while LeBron is out and Rui is, for better or worse, stepping into the role or doing a lot of the things that the Lakers would need otherwise from LeBron, he's going to have to figure out a way, or the Lakers are going to have to figure out a way to get him to like actually be engaged in a game, even when he isn't necessarily getting his shots. So first half, Rui, see if you can extend what we saw from Rui in that first half, and then extend that, and try to get more of those non-scoring impact type plays, even when he isn't scoring. So yeah, I thought that, when Rui had it going and when Austin was out there, the Lakers looked like a much better team. And then when Austin wasn't out there as much and when Rui stopped scoring, the Lakers looked like a much worse team. And obviously they didn't have Luka and stuff like that. So we'll talk about that in a second. But those were the two kind of individual performances that I wanted to highlight just right from the get, before we get to like role players and stuff later in the show. Man, I don't know why. I've been talking fine all day. I sit down here and I sound like a smoker. All right, I'm going to take a quick second, let Avery explain lightning to you guys, see if I can drink some water and sound better.
All right, so Avery is going to explain lightning.
So why they're lightning? Because they're bowling.
Who's bowling?
The Angels.
Okay, the Angels are bowling.
And if they have a lightning, that means they have a strike.
A strike.
Yeah, and that means they have all of the points.
Okay, I like it. I like the theory. Who told you that?
Mommy.
Mommy. Good job, Mommy. All right, say goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
All right, let's see if that helped a little bit. Shouts to Avery for helping out the show in that moment. All right, so a couple quick things on Austin. JJ Redick said after the game, because Austin at one point came up gimpy and asked for the Lakers to call timeout, asked to come out of the game. There's a really funny clip that's floating around out there of Luka looking at Austin and being like, enough, after that. Austin was asked about it after the game. JJ Redick was asked about it after the game. Austin says he's fine. JJ Redick said he took a knee, that Austin took a knee to the thigh and will be fine. Doesn't sound like anything anybody is particularly worried about. But that is one of those things that you walk. Initially, the thought was that Austin kind of turned his ankle a little bit. I don't know if it's the ankle or the knee or whatever, but regardless, Austin doesn't sound very worried about it. JJ Redick doesn't sound very worried about it. The Lakers don't seem very worried about it. He'll be perfectly fine. Probably won't play on Tuesday, I would imagine, as he kind of recovers from this and all that stuff. But yeah, maybe he will. Maybe he'll try and go out there and play a little bit so that he and Luka can get some reps before the end of the preseason. But as of now, Austin is fine, for those of you who are concerned about it. All right, let's talk about the approach to this one. So heading into this weekend, the thought was that Luka was going to go out there and try to play in one of the games over the weekend, or one of their next couple of games. The JJ Redick had told people that Marcus Smart was probably going to go tonight, and turns out neither of them did. And it's just, to me, a continuation of I think a pretty shoddy approach to this preseason and this training camp overall. Now, what I will say, just for the sake of nuance and for the sake of fairness, is that the Lakers collectively looked a hell of a lot better, and they look like they have been accomplishing some stuff in practice that does make me feel a little bit better about how training camp has gone. That said, I still just don't really appreciate the Lakers sitting a healthy Luka Doncic and a healthy Marcus Smart, because now it forces them, they've played half of their preseason games. Their plan was to play Luka in 2 of their preseason games. He's 26, by the way. Like, whatever. But the plan was to play Luka in 2 of the Lakers' 6 preseason games, which begs the question, why are you playing 6 preseason games if your superstar, is only going to play in a couple of them? The Lakers clearly looked a lot better with some extra practice time. There was no need, basically, and all of these teams set their own preseason schedule. There was no need for the Lakers to go out there and play such an early preseason game when A, nobody was going to play in it, and B, they hadn't implemented any of their, offensive or defensive principles in it, clearly. And when they were able to actually do some of those things and implement some of those things, they looked a hell of a lot better. So I don't know, maybe next year, these are things that the Lakers that the JJ Redick specifically is kind of learning on the fly. One of the things that I would like for the Lakers to maybe consider next year is to maybe take, a couple extra days off rather than schedule 6 preseason games. And that way you can get some extra practice in before you actually open up your preseason, so that those reps are actually worth a little bit more. But anyway, Luka doesn't play, Marcus doesn't play, and now the Lakers basically have to either play both of them on, because I think they play a back-to-back Tuesday and Wednesday. But the Lakers will basically have to play them on both ends of that back-to-back, or they would have to play them on one end of the back-to-back and then play them in the last preseason game of the season, which is normally, the kind of deal where, like, JJ Redick has been using the phrase dress rehearsal. Well, you would want one of these upcoming games to be the dress rehearsal. And then you would basically have everybody rest for the final preseason game so that you can head into the regular season as healthy as you can possibly be. So the Lakers basically, because of the way that they've scheduled this out and because of the, seemingly, in the moment decisions for who is going to play when, now the Lakers basically have to make a compromise one way or the other. Either Luka isn't going to play in 2 preseason games, or he's going to have to really kind of squeeze both of those preseason games in. And if he does that, then the, dress rehearsal game is going to be pretty difficult to come by. So, yeah, I don't understand this need from the Lakers to just treat Luka like he is some 35-year-old vet coming off of a championship season the year before. I know he played in Eurobasket. I know he talked about getting into shape right after the season ended. But what are we doing here? He's 26. Like what? What the hell? You know? You look at Jokic, he played in Eurobasket and he's been playing in all of Denver's games. Roughly the same age as Luka. Um, Alperen Şengün, Giannis Antetokounmpo, like all of these guys have basically played in their team's preseason games. Luka's the only one who hasn't, and he's not playing in these games while he's been healthy. One of the things that I've kind of heard is that like these are all kind of unilateral decisions that Luka base and his camp have basically been making some of these decisions. And one of the lessons I think to take away from Luka's time in Dallas, and especially when things kind of took a turn, was how Dallas really babied Luka and they enabled some of his bad habits. um, and there was never any, active aggressive, hey, we think you need to do X, Y, and Z. There was never any like that relationship that never came from that relationship. And I'm hoping that the Lakers aren't following in those footsteps or falling into those same habits. As given the way that I have heard that they're kind of handling this Luka situation, or he is kind of handling the situation. So, if look, if he plays in a couple of these preseason games, looks good, and the Lakers have a little bit of momentum going into the preseason, then fine. But it has really kind of felt like the Lakers have missed a real opportunity here with training camp and with these preseason games to get the reps that they told us mattered a bunch after their first preseason game, after they got eliminated from the playoffs last year, at media day. Like all of these things, they tell us that this stuff really really matters, and then continue to miss these opportunities to get those reps that they tell us matter. So hopefully we see Luka in one of these final 3 games here, or in a couple of these final 3 games. Hopefully we see him out there with Austin so that we can kind of see those guys get a few reps together and see what work the Lakers have put in to make sure that those guys actually compound each other's skill sets and don't just coexist on the court, but actually thrive off of each other's presence on the court. Like that stuff takes time and effort and reps and direction. And so far throughout this preseason, it hasn't really felt like they've gotten those things. Smart, him not playing tonight also doesn't really make very much sense. He was healthy early on, or no, he was dealing with the Achilles tendinopathy, and then he got sick, and then he got back, and all we keep hearing about is how great he looks. Unless he's dinged up, him not playing in this one doesn't make much sense for a lot of the same reasons that we talked about here with Luka. So I wish I felt more confident in what the Lakers have actually been able to build off of throughout this training camp, but I don't. I think it's been a pretty wasteful training camp. All right, let's go back to the positive things. Let's go back to the feel good stuff. And already talked about Austin looking good. He's been fantastic this preseason. He seems poised for a pretty damn good season. So that's really exciting and something I'm really looking forward to. But one of the questions coming into the season was, all right, what's the depth going to look like? Who's going to, step up and compound the strengths of the superstars at the top of the roster, and carry that burden so that those guys, if one of them are sitting, the game doesn't go to shit. And a couple of steady performances throughout this preseason. I have really really liked what I've seen from Deandre Ayton. And I know that he caught some shit for his stat line in the first preseason game, But you look at tonight, and he played 26 minutes, scored 14 points, grabbed 8 rebounds, dished out 5 assists, actually, which was kind of crazy. A couple of steals, a block shot, was a +3 on the night. 6 of 8 from the field, 2 of 2 from the free throw line. I have been really impressed by DeAndre Ayton throughout these preseason games. I have really liked the clear emphasis he has made on the defensive side of the ball. His feet are moving really well. He blocked a jumper tonight. Like, the one block shot that he had was actually on a pull-up jumper, which usually, speaks really loudly to the level of engagement after the game. The quote that he gave to Mike Trudell coming off of the court: I'm just trying to let the world know and the league know that I'm the Lakers center and the anchor of this defense, end quote. Like, clearly he has taken it upon himself to really bring it on that side of the court. And really, that's the side of the court that the Lakers are really going to need him on. Obviously the offensive stuff, and the floater game, the mid-range game, the punishing switches game, like, that stuff is obviously something that DeAndre Ayton is very capable of bringing to the table. But given the groups, and especially the starting lineup that he's probably going to be playing in, having Ayton out there, kind of swallowing up the paint, grabbing rebounds on the offensive and defensive side, moving his feet, being able to play, either at the level or in the deep drop, or, like, just basically being able to execute the varying approaches that JJ Redick and his coaching staff want the Lakers to take defensively. Like, that stuff is what really, really is going to dictate the type of season that DeAndre Ayton is going to have for the Lakers, and how interested the Lakers are going to be in keeping Ayton around beyond this season. So, yeah, him, look, I will also say this, and I know this is going to sound harsher than I mean it to be, but the one thing I'll say about Ayton, he kind of reminds me of D'Angelo Russell, in that I think he is very, very good at saying the thing that he knows he wants people to hear. And that is great if there is action upon those words. It's less great when the words basically become kind of empty. So with what we've heard from DeAndre Ayton all offseason and stuff like that, he is saying a lot of the right things. Even more importantly, significantly more importantly, is that he is saying all of those right things and then following those right things up with, um, you know, doing the right things, focusing on the right things when he's out there on the court, and trying to make an impact doing those right things. So DeAndre Ayton has been, I've really enjoyed the DeAndre Ayton experience so far. He is definitely on his best behavior. It is definitely like first date DeAndre Ayton so far, but uh, I don't really have very many, if any, complaints about him. And then it's also been nice because you have Ayton, who is clearly like a significantly more skilled player than either of the guys who would be coming off of the bench after him. But it is nice that, Ayton goes and sits down, and then you have this kind of change of pace center in Jackson Hayes, where he goes out there and he's running up and down the court like a gazelle. He's catching lobs at a significantly higher point than Ayton's elevator goes to. He's obviously a lot more erratic and all of that stuff, but you can deal with some of Jackson's, erratic, production and stuff when you have a steadier force and a steadier presence in DeAndre Ayton, at least theoretically. Now, I think I'm still of the opinion that if the Lakers are going to be a serious title contender, They might still need an upgrade from one of those two guys, but overall, the Ayton experience has been really, positive, and here's hoping that continues. Now, the next guy I want to talk about is Jared Vanderbilt. Now, his stat line nowhere near as impressive as the other guys that we talked about here. So 25 minutes for Jared Vanderbilt, 3 of 9 from the field, 0 of 4 from three-point range. None of his threes were particularly close. Grabbed 4 rebounds, couple of assists, no steals, no blocks, and was a +1 on the night, having scored 6 total points. But he has remained aggressive. I thought, like, the way that he is getting downhill and trying to get to the rim is really exciting. The facilitating stuff has been really fun to watch. And then, he's bringing exactly what you would want to see him bring defensively, where he's picking guys up full court, he's bothering them. There were a few occasions where Pat Spencer, the white dude with a mustache for Golden State, there were several occasions where he was pretty clearly frustrated, and I thought that had a lot to do with Vando. So, excuse me. Look, I think in order to have proper balance, whenever LeBron is healthy, and so long as Luka and Austin are healthy at the same time, I think in order to have proper balance, one of Vando or Smart need to start in Rui's place in that group. Not just balance in that one lineup, but also balance across the rotation, given the downstream effects of some of that stuff. We've talked about that in pretty nauseating length at this point. But Vando has been active enough and consistent enough that and honestly, like, athletic enough. He is like popping off of the screen athletically. And that is something that when LeBron is healthy and the Lakers start Austin and Luka and LeBron and Ayton, those 4 players, like, none of them pop athletically anymore. LeBron does for a 40-year-old or whatever, but he doesn't pop by NBA standards really anymore. And Rui doesn't really pop by NBA standards anymore. Vando does. Vando is crazy fast. He can elevate like a mother bleeper. Like, he is built like an Avenger. He's the kind of athletic presence that group really, really needs. And that group is so offensively talented in a way that he needs to be surrounded by. So I'm like, the more I watch this preseason, the more I'm starting to buy into Vando as an opener type of starter, where he plays a quick 5 to 7 minute stint, and then Austin, or not Austin, but Marcus comes off of the bench for him, and Rui comes off of the bench for LeBron, and that is kind of your second unit there moving forward. That is how I would like to see the rotation go. But that wouldn't be possible, and I wouldn't be lobbing this up as a possibility if Vando hadn't looked the way that he currently does and has looked all preseason. So shouts to Vando. Hopefully the counting stats do start to improve. I kind of doubt it. Like, he's just never going to be a good shooter. The finishing and aggression at the rim, I think that can be here to stay. That I do believe in. And end of the day, though, like, him as a facilitator, him as a connector, that stuff I do kind of believe in. Him as a finisher, a lot less so, but more, like, significantly more importantly, him as an athlete, him as a defensive presence on the perimeter and basically everywhere. Like, that's the player that group really, really needs. Last guy that I want to talk about here individually is Gabe, who, I think he is trying to find that balance as a scorer and as a facilitator. And I think there are plays where he has his mind made up before the play even happens. He threw one of the funniest lobs I have ever seen today to Rui, where I don't know if you gave Wemby Vince Carter's jumping ability that player would have been able to get. I don't think that player would have been able to get to that lob. Yeah, here's a quick recap of a lot of the lobs that Gabe was throwing tonight.
Vaughn into the windup in his first offering. Just a bit outside. He tried the corner and missed. Ball 4. Ball 8. Low, and Vaughn has walked the bases loaded on 12 straight pitches. Boy, how can these guys...
Yeah, it's some of those passes are an adventure. And now look, I think he's another player who is just kind of trying to find his footing with what the Lakers are actually going to play with. Because I watch him play, and he very clearly looks to me like somebody who plays a certain way in practice when Luka is there, and then has to play a very different way in games while Luka hasn't been there. And a lot of the decisions that Gabe has been making speak to somebody who is trying to find that balance on the fly. Still, his shot looks really, really good. He looks really, really confident. He is, tonight he shot, where's his line at? 2 of 4 from 3-point range tonight, 5 of 5 from the free throw line, 3 of 8 from the field overall, 13 points, 4 boards, couple of assists, couple of steals, was a +2 on the night. Like, I headed into the season kind of wondering what his role was going to be and whether the Lakers actually had minutes for a really small point guard. But with LeBron now out and with how he has played basically all preseason, I'm of the opinion here now that there is very clearly a need for his kind of steadying presence. He still has, I think, the best feet defensively of any of the Lakers. And I think is one of their steadier perimeter presences defensively. He's just really short. So there's a ceiling on what his impact can be on that side of the ball. But overall, I have really liked what we have seen here from Gabe Vincent. And I think there's a world here where not only does he have an important role in the rotation while LeBron is out, but I think there's a world where he plays well enough while LeBron is out that JJ Redick has to figure out a way to find more minutes for him whenever LeBron comes back. But Gabe's been really good. And most importantly, he's knocking down shots, which, whoever else is out there playing those backup guard minutes, whether it's Gabe, whether it's Dalton, whether it's LaRavia, whoever, those guys have to knock down open shots. And of the players that the Lakers have utilized, between those three guys, Dalton, LaRavia, Gabe, et cetera, Gabe is the guy I am easily the most confident in, kind of moving forward, not just as a shooter or as a whatever, but just as an overall player. He's just quite a bit better, I think, at this stage of his career than obviously Bronny and Dalton and LaRavia right now. But great stuff there from Gabe. All right, let's see if we have any comments here from the live audience. Daniel, happy Sunday. Hello, guys. Not as happy as Sunday. My fantasy team basically lost because the referees just decided it was the right call. I should say it was the right call. but the referees in the KC Detroit game just basically decided after watching a play, no, actually we're throwing a flag after the fact. Like, that was a little odd. But that cost me this week in fantasy in one of my leagues. So it's like a relatively happy Sunday. Happy in that the Lakers won. How about that? I'm happy in that sense. Omaris, transition defense is still shit, and the third quarter woes are still there too. Yeah, I think I saw a stat today where the Lakers have been outscored by 39 points through the third quarters this preseason so far. I don't know if JJ has them listening to Yo-Yo Ma in the locker room, and they kind of fall asleep there at halftime. But whatever they're doing, whether it's adjustments, whether it's the communication, whatever it is, whether it's just like getting out there and having proper fire, the Lakers need to be a lot better going. And I think third quarters are going to be quite a bit better when Luka is out there, so that's at least the hope. But yeah, the third quarters have been ugly. And then I was actually happy to see that the Lakers got out and ran today so that their transition defense didn't look as bad. Transition defense looks really, really bad when you're not running, right? But if your transition defense is the exact same, but you're also running against the team that you're playing against, that tends to alleviate some of the pressure created by poor transition defense. And I thought we saw that tonight. But yeah, good couple of notes there on Mars. G-Dog, what happens with trades now after seeing Austin Reaves get hurt just like LeBron is? Should have sold high on him. What? Some of y'all really, really, really want to trade Austin. And it's like to a point here where I'm wondering what other reasons you have for wanting to trade Austin so badly. And I don't think it's strictly basketball with a lot of these kinds of comments. Not saying that you're definitely saying this, G-Dog, but in my mentions and in some of these comments and some of the comments to the pieces that I've written, like some of y'all really, really, really want Austin traded. And I truly don't. Like, you want him traded for the sake of trading him. I understand wanting to trade him for a clear upgrade, but nobody who makes these comments about trading Austin ever present the player that they want him traded for. And that tells me that you just want him traded for the sake of trading him, which I truly don't understand. Like, I really do not get. So I don't know. Austin has been a Lakers best player this preseason, and I don't think it's particularly close. Like, I don't even know who comes in second place, and they are like laps behind Austin. And these comments, like, yeah, just get him out, like get him out of here, kind of stuff. I do not understand it. Now, as far as like Austin being hurt and that being the reason that they should have traded him before, he's not hurt. They just told you after the game that nobody is worried about Austin. He got kneed in the thigh. Like, that hurts really bad in the moment, but it's a bruise that kind of lingers for a couple of days and you move on. I don't know. I think it's because I've seen so much of it that I'm like so annoyed by it at this point that I kind of have this visceral reaction to it. But like, I don't know. I think there's some other stuff going on there with Austin. And it really makes me feel a certain way when I see that kind of response to him, where it's just like, get him out of here. It's like, what? He's like actually a good basketball player. Like, Brandon Pajemski played really well tonight, and I still thought Austin was significantly better than anybody else on the court. Draymond played tonight. Obviously, everybody outside of Luka and LeBron played for the Lakers. Kuminga played tonight. Now, Al Horford didn't play. Gary Payton II played tonight for the Warriors. I don't know. Like, there was no Steph, obviously, and that's worth noting as far as like who wasn't out there to make these you know, uh, to make these comparisons when I say so and so is the best player on the court. If that court doesn't feature Steph Curry, that's a very different statement. So, that's worth noting. But I have thought that Austin has been like significantly better than every other Laker we've watched this preseason. And he was really good last year and um, has improved every year he's been a Laker. I don't understand where people are coming from, where they're like, get him the bleep out of here. And they don't offer up who they would actually trade this guy for. That just tells me you want him traded for the sake of trading him. And that would objectively hurt the Lakers if you traded Austin Reaves for the sake of getting him out of there. Let's see. The Ayton as a hub seems to be more polished. Yeah, I actually think he might be a better facilitator than AD. Not a better player. Obviously, AD is way more talented, way more impactful defensively, all of those things. But I think Ayton actually handles himself with pressure better than AD does. Remember, the thing I would always kind of point to is AD's shoulder levels. Watch Ayton throw his passes, and his shoulders are always pretty square. AD, on the other hand, would, his shoulders would kind of go like this, and he would almost have to overcome his posture to throw some of these passes. So with Ayton, I don't think it's something that the Lakers are going to have to use a ton because you have Luka, because you have Austin, because you have LeBron. But in those moments where like Ayton, attacks a switch and the other team feels the need to send two at Ayton while he has a smaller guard on him, I think that Ayton is obviously very equipped at attacking the smaller player when that smaller player is switched onto him. But I also think when that team sends a second player after Ayton has attacked that switch a couple of times, that Ayton is also really well equipped at making the right pass so that even if he doesn't create the assist, he creates an assist opportunity by making the right pass for a swing type thing. And you maybe get like a corner three out of it all. So yeah, I don't know how much Ayton will have to be used as a hub for, in terms of the pure definition of that word. But I do think the plays that Ayton creates, tonight, 5 assists for Ayton, that's not nothing. That's a good facilitating day for a center. And I think, if that's something, if that's an extra level to the offense that he can create, that wasn't even something I was taking into account heading into the season. But if that is an extra wrinkle that he can bring to the offense, then the offense becomes that much more dangerous. All right. Let's see. Yeah, Lakers for life. I like this comment. Nick Smith Jr. has looked good in the minutes he's gotten. I think he's frankly outplayed Bronny by quite a bit. And now obviously Bronny has an NBA contract, so Bronny's going to get priority that way in terms of the rotation and opportunities and stuff like that. But I just think Nick Smith Jr. is a better player right now than Bronny is. And like one of the things that annoys me watching Bronny play is how much jogging and walking he does. Um, Bronny isn't talented enough offensively to be as inconsistent as he can be defensively. And Nick Smith actually is that talented offensively. And they both have holes defensively, but I just think Nick Smith is a better offensive player while having some of the same holes defensively. And if I had to choose one or the other, in a game where one or two of the Lakers guards are hurt, I would be a lot more comfortable with Nick Smith Jr. out there over Bronny. So Look, it's a long season, and over the course of last season, Bronny improved by quite a bit. But to this point in the preseason, I think Nick Smith has been quite a bit better than Bronny, and it's going to be interesting to see how that gets handled in, with the South Bay Lakers, and who gets what reps and how much reps Bronny actually gets down there, how much time he spends with that team compared to how much time he spends with the parent team. I think it might be, it should, like, based on what I've seen from Bronny this preseason, I think it probably should be another development year from Bronny where he spends the vast majority of his time with the South Bay Lakers. But between Nick Smith Jr. and RJ Davis, like Bronny, Bronny has basically only looked good when Gabe is out there with him, when RJ Davis or Nick Smith Jr. is out there with him, so that those guys can actually run the offense. And look, Bronny just isn't big enough to not have any point guard skills. So I really like what we've seen from Nick Smith Jr. Haven't really liked what I've seen from Bronny. Hopefully that turns around. Let's see. Barry, Dalton Knecht looks like he found his confidence again. He was shooting, I'll give him that. I thought that he just Dalton's future in the NBA is going to be dictated by whether or not he returns to the flamethrower that he was in college and early in his career, despite not having the ability or the opportunity to spend a whole bunch of time on the ball. He's going to have to figure out a way to get himself into a rhythm and make himself confident, whether or not he gets a few dribbles per game. Like that's just how this is going to go. And tonight, I thought this was the best he has looked all preseason. I liked how aggressive he was trying to get to the rim and thus to the free throw line. I think I always like to find stats that kind of define whether or not somebody is having a good game. And I think with Dalton, whether or not he shoots like 1 or 2 or 2 or 3 free throws a game, like those games that Dalton shoots 2 or 3 free throws, those are going to be Dalton's best games. So, I thought he got to the see how many free throws he shot tonight. He shot, 6 of 8 from the free throw line tonight. Like this was a really good Dalton offensive game. Defensively, he keeps losing his guy on backdoor cuts, and this isn't obviously kept as a stat, but one of the things that I have really kind of noticed is how often his teammates are kind of talking to him like, dude, like making faces at him or telling him, dude, you got to be here. Dude, we're working on this. We're doing this. You're guarding so-and-so. You can't do this. But for Dalton, if he's getting to the free throw line, those are the best games that Dalton's going to have. And 8 free throws for Dalton is a really bleeping good game. So, hopefully we get more of that. I don't know what his role is going to be, how many minutes he's actually going to be able to play. But if he looks like he looked tonight offensively and he gets to the free throw line, I think JJ will basically have to find a role for him. All right. That is going to do it here for this episode of the Lakers Lounge Podcast. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I'm not going to record a lowdown right away tonight because of the way that my voice sounds. Although, no, I kind of need to, huh? Shoot. We'll see. But the plan, obviously, as always, is to take this down, edit it, throw it back up as a pod. That'll be up in the morning for you guys who listen that way. To those of you who are tuned in right now, please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button. Shouts to the Lakers for picking up a preseason win. That was good to see. They beat a Golden State Warriors team that I don't believe had lost in the preseason to this point. So that was good to see as well. And yeah, until the next time you guys hear from me, I'm Anthony Irwin saying have a great rest of your day. Make somebody else's, and I will talk to you tomorrow, probably with Harrison. Have a good one, everybody.